Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Daniel Dubois stops Filip Hrgovic in a heavyweight slugfest. Great fight. Both guys had their moments. Both guys landed colossal shots throughout this fight. Both guys showed a really good chin actually. And it's interesting watching Dubois take these shots. You realise that Dubois can take shots. He can take a punch, as we saw in this fight. Previously when he was stopped, he took a knee voluntarily against Usyk and against Joe Joyce. In this fight, he took some very hard shots, very hard overhand rights by Hrgovic, but he walked through those shots relatively unscathed, and he pressured Hrgovic throughout this fight, made Hrgovic work exceptionally hard, and he eventually ground him down. Elephant in the room that has to be addressed, that commentary did not mention, was the negative for me in regards to Dubois, was the sheer amount of headbutts in this bout. He was very keen to lead with his head in this fight, Dubois, and he did it several times, man. He tucked his chin and was leading with his head, and he was catching Hrgovic with his head, bang on the chin basically, bang in the face. Hrgovic was still rabbit punching, etc., but I felt that Dubois' fouling in this fight was pretty fucking bad, to be honest with you. Regardless, first round was very interesting. Dubois came out very aggressive, trying to step forward with the jab, the double jab, and he was catching Hrgovic early on with a jab, but Hrgovic took a half step back about a minute into the round, and he was tattooing Daniel Dubois with a series of overhand rights. Like, he couldn't miss, and these were pretty big shots on Dubois. Dubois was just walking into the overhand right from Hrgovic. Hrgovic was looping the shots over Dubois' jab, and Dubois was walking right into these shots. Clear round for Hrgovic. Round two was more of the same. Dubois was applying the pressure. He was trying to get closer to Hrgovic. Again, jab, double jab, chopping overhand right, and he was catching Hrgovic, but Hrgovic was able to land the overhand right again, taking advantage of Dubois' jab, his one-paced jab, and he was firing over the top. Both guys having their moments, both guys landing big shots. I felt Hrgovic won round two, but despite Hrgovic winning the first two, in my opinion, what I noticed was both guys were working very hard, and I felt Dubois was holding his shape better, holding his stance better, holding his guard better. Even though Dubois' guard wasn't great in this fight at times, he was holding his shape a lot better than Hrgovic. Hrgovic was pretty much round three onwards showing the signs that this was a very tiresome fight. And also in round two, I think he was cut by a punch from Dubois. Third round, I felt Dubois had a good round, really applied the pressure on Hrgovic. I felt he was the guy taking the initiative, making Hrgovic look uncomfortable, firing the right hand around the side and right hand over the top. And I felt his aggression was more effective in that round, to be honest with you, in round three. Hrgovic still landed, but yeah, I felt Dubois' aggression was more effective. After round three, though, it was weird. So, like, rounds 4 and 5 in particular, like, I felt Hrgovic won the rounds. He landed more clear shots. He was taking like a half step back and firing over Dubois' jab. That was primarily Hrgovic's game. He was trying to also land like the lead uppercut, but he was kind of out of range for it. Very rarely landed. A couple of times it landed to the body. But he was picking the better shots against Dubois in rounds 4 and 5. But Dubois was still working, and he was making Hrgovic work hard. And you could tell it was taking something out of Hrgovic. The cut on Hrgovic was getting worse and worse. And I felt the shots that Dubois was landing were harder. They looked like they were having more of an effect. As we got into round 6 and 7, it really became a war of attrition. Hrgovic's punch output was starting to drop, and Dubois was then really able to take the initiative. He was really able to force the pace. He was really able to stamp his physicality on Hrgovic. He was also starting to follow up his right hand with the left hook. Hrgovic was backing up in straight lines, and the left hook was a very good shot. As Hrgovic was backing up, Dubois was stepping into his punches very well, and that didn't enable Hrgovic to back up and pull back. We mentioned in the prediction video that Hrgovic, his primary form of defense is to lean back from shots. He'll lean back to evade a shot. We said in the prediction that Dubois needs to follow up his initial attack. So if he throws a jab or 1-2, well, let's say he throws a 1-2, he then needs to follow up with a left hook as Hrgovic is pulling back. And those combinations, that third and fourth punch on those combinations, were very effective at catching Hrgovic when he was trying to pull back. Because yeah, he could maybe sometimes evade the first and second shot, but he couldn't the third and fourth. And after the 6th round, I felt Dubois really started to take control. Hrgovic's output dropped drastically. And also another cut appeared on Hrgovic's other eye. So by midway, he was cut on both eyes and there was a lot of blood. Round 7, Dubois really kind of dominated. Hrgovic's output had totally dropped. Body language was terrible in my opinion. He was spent, he was gassed. And Dubois really was able to do what he wanted. End of round 6, he was caught with a lovely left hook in the clinch. It hurt Hrgovic. This was towards the end of round 7. Dubois tried to finish, but he didn't have time. Round 8, both guys come out. Dubois had really started to take over by this point. Even when Hrgovic would throw in like round 6, 7 and 8, the shots didn't have the same impact that they had in rounds 1, 2 and 3. I felt maybe that Hrgovic expended a little too much energy in those rounds, possibly. He was loading up in a lot of shots early on, and you could see in rounds 6, 7 and 8, the shots that Hrgovic was throwing, which weren't as frequent as the early rounds, they didn't have the same amount of power either. And yeah, Hrgovic was getting walked down in round 8, he was getting jabbed up, he was getting punched up. The referee then called for an intervention. The doctor checked out Hrgovic's eyes, and he deemed Hrgovic unable to continue. Honestly, I think they should have let the round play out and then go from there. But, you know, it is what it is. Maybe I'm a bit too bloodthirsty for some people's liking. But, you know, this was a heavyweight title eliminator. But it looked like Dubois was getting in control. Well, he was in control. And it did look like this fight was only going one way. But yeah, I think they should have let this round play out and then gone from there, basically. But regardless, Dubois won the fight. He walked down Hrgovic, he landed the harder shots, and physically he basically outmatched him, you know? And it goes to show again, like I said early, this fight goes to show that Dubois doesn't have a bad chin per se. You know, like I said earlier, the 2 stoppage defeats he suffered, he took the knee voluntarily. So maybe we can stop questioning Dubois' chin, and maybe he has learned, maybe he has grown up, because he took some big shots early on, you know? And it kind of looked early on like Dubois' tactics were all wrong. Like he was too aggressive, like way too aggressive. And it looked like maybe he was going to get himself in trouble, but he walked through it. He walked through it and he got the job done, so it is what it is. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.